Welcome to Paranormal Outreach. Join us as we deep dive into paranormal cases and unsolved crimes all around the world. Here with you, former bounty hunter and now paranormal investigator, your host, Curtis Freeman. Viewer discretion advised.
And hello, how is everybody doing on this wonderful day? Welcome to Paranormal Outreach. I am your host, Curtis Freeman. Yes, you heard the intro. We are talking about Skinwalker Ranch. That will be our discussion today on if you believe that everything the Shermans were seeing and dealing with was actually real. There's a lot of people debating on if they were actually seeing what they were seeing or if they was doing it for the money. So we're going to get deep into it today. So the Skinwalker Ranch was a location in Utah. It was a cattle ranch, and it was owned by the Shermans. It was a 512-acre ranch, and they seemed to be having, I don't know, how would you say, mysterious activities going on. And a lot of it couldn't have been explained. They were saying they seen Bigfoot, aliens, ghosts, oversized wolf. Their cattle were being killed and weird operation procedures was going on at the same time. So here's a little bit of the information that we have found, diving deep into the story and the cases behind Skinwalker Ranch. So let's get deep into it. So some have called it a supernatural place. Others, they called it a location where it was a prime spot for a dimensional portal between different dimensions. So others deemed it a curse. Terry Sherman got so spooked by the happenings on his new cattle ranch that 18 months after moving his family of 4 to the property, now known by many as Skinwalker Ranch, in northeastern Utah, he sold the 512-acre ranch. He and his wife, Gwen, shared their chilling experiences with a local reporter in June of 1996. That's where they told everything. They came out and said everything that happened to this lucky reporter who sat there and heard everything firsthand. The Shermans have seen mysterious crop circles and UFOs, and they have had repeated manipulation of their cattle in an oddly surgical and bloodless manner. And that's a fact to talk about right there, because, you know, when you have an operation, there's a lot of blood that is going to spill because of an open wound. Well, these cattle, they were bled dry. Yeah, they was actually dry of blood. And some of the surgical procedures on them were somewhere around 6 inches wide and an inch and a half deep. But yet there was no blood around the land that there was on. How is that? A cow, 1,500 pound, or some of them were 1,400 pound cows, were laying on a spot on the ranch, cut open, dry of blood. So what is that telling you? Well, it's telling me a few things. It's telling me either one, that something sucked the blood out of them. 2, they were dropped there and whatever surgical procedures they had on them was not done at that spot. It's kind of cut and dry. Like something is happening beyond what we can see. So they said that the Shermans have seen mysterious crop circles and UFOs, and they have had repeated manipulation of the cattle, one after another. Within 3 months of the story publication, that's right, they wrote a book on this now. Like I told you, they spoke to the reporter, and the reporter wrote a book on this. So it says, within 3 months of the story's publication, Las Vegas real estate magnate and UFO enthusiast Robert Bigelow bought the property for $200,000. Can you believe that? They bought the property for $200,000. They just wanted to get rid of this ranch. Now, I don't know if the property was cheap at that time, but $200,000 on a 512-acre ranch. These days, that's what you call a steal to me. I mean, $200,000 is not a lot of money. I mean, that's what you buy that for like a three-room house. You know what I mean? But yeah, they got that for $200,000. So here it says that under the name of the National Institute of Discovery Science, that's the people that bought the house. Now, it was an individual that bought the house, Robert Bigelow, but he created, I believe it was a nonprofit business company, National Institute of Discovery Science, just for the Skinwalker Ranch. Because that's where they're going to be doing all the testing to see if what the Shermans were seeing was actually real. See, Robert Bigelow is a billionaire. He's a billionaire. He's tech savvy. He owns, a small motel chain, and he got a lot of money, and he's interested into the paranormal. So he decided to buy the whole ranch and start doing his own testing on the ranch. So Bigelow set up around-the-clock surveillance of the ranch, hoping to get to the bottom of the paranormal claims. But while the surveillance yielded a book called The Hunt for the Skinwalker, Science Stands Against the Unexplained Remote Ranch in Utah, in which several of the researchers claim to have seen paranormal activities. I mean, you're on a ranch. You bought the ranch because the ranch had paranormal activities happening. It caught your attention. Now you have your own people. These are scientists, by the way. These are not just like people, hey, I'm a paranormal investigator, let's go. These are like well-known scientists, chemists, investigators. These people had a reputation. And now they're seeing things that the Shermans were telling them. So it says, but while the surveillance yielded the book for the Skinwalker Ranch, they were unable to capture any meaningful physical evidence. Now, mind you, supporting the Shermans' incredible stories, they were not able to capture true physical or videotapes of things actually happening. Now, they seen it out of their own eyes, but the equipment couldn't pick it up. So it was like, okay, 1 minute they were saying that paranormal activity was happening in this location, so they turned all the cameras to this location. So when they turned all the cameras to this location, paranormal activity was happening in another location. So it was like it was toying with them. They aimed their equipment to the left, stuff started happening on the right. They aimed their equipment to the right, stuff started happening to the left. So they felt like they were being outsmarted. It says the ranch was resold to Admitum Real Estate, which has since applied to a trademark under the name Skinwalker Ranch. So now nobody else can use that name, Skinwalker Ranch, for any type of promotional or commercial use. Now, had the Shermans been lying about what they saw? Well, a lot of people are saying they have been lying about what they saw. A lot of people believe what they saw because they're saying they've seen it themselves. The Shermans has been saying that they've been telling the truth from day one. A lot of people saying the Shermans are lying. Other people, their neighbors, are saying that they have witnessed and seen the same thing. Now, they could be under the spell of collective delusion because they want to make money. They know this thing is popular. They say, hey, my property is haunted. Let's make money. But without evidence, the stories they tell are difficult to believe. I mean, when is it ever easy to prove you've seen a ghost? Okay, people, listen, if somebody said to you, hey, I seen a ghost, how would you look at them? Would you look at them with sorrow, like, oh my God, I feel so sad for you? Or, oh my God, are you okay? Or would you look at them and be like, you're crazy? Or, this guy's kind of loony, he's seeing things. People kind of back away from when you sit there and talk about paranormal stuff. Some people sit there and say, yeah, I seen my grandmother. My grandmother passed away and I seen her. And everybody's seen somewhat of something. But then there's people that just straight out don't believe it. So now they say the basin of eastern Utah has been such a hotbed of paranormal sightings over the years that some extraterrestrial enthusiasts have deemed it, you know what it is, UFO Alley. You can't throw a rock at a southern Utah without hitting somebody who's been abducted. So they're saying that eastern Utah, has more abductees than anywhere else in the world. Local filmmaker Trent Harris told the Desert News, indeed, according to Hunt for the Skinwalker Ranch, odd objects have been spotted overhead since the first European explorers arrived in 1776. So when you have paranormal activity going on since 1976 to 2020, I mean, this thing's still happening there in 2020. That's a lot of time-stamped activities, or just poltergeist activities itself. I mean, imagine seeing an oversized wolf walking down the street. And when I say oversized, I don't mean like, if a wolf is supposed to be, say, 3 feet off the ground, he's 3.5 feet. Or if a wolf is supposed to weigh 120 pounds, he's 125. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a wolf. If a wolf is supposed to be 3 feet off the ground, when I say oversized wolf on the Skinwalker Ranch, I'm talking about 6 feet off the ground on all fours. Then if I say 120 pounds, I'm talking about 250-pound wolf. Can you imagine just to see that? I mean, that'll make a man stay straight right there. I mean, you think you're running, but you still standing straight. If I ever saw a wolf like that, my mind tells me that I'm running, but my body is still standing there. Because I am just so shocked at what I'm seeing. I wouldn't know what I'd do. Honestly, I wouldn't know what I'd do. But it says that missionaries wrote about strange fireballs appearing over their campfire in El Rey. And before the Europeans, of course, indigenous people occupied the Utah Basin. Today, Skinwalker Ranch abuts the Utah and Ouray Indian Reservation of the Oti tribe, where the Shermans seen things that nearby Native Americans has been talking about before, centuries before. I mean, this is where we're getting into the mysterious creatures now. I mean, they have a fence that wraps around Skinwalker Ranch to keep the animals in and animals out, okay? But it says here, a fence that surrounds the main building of Skinwalker Ranch wraps around it to protect the animals that is in it. But not everything the Shermans have saw on their ranch was skyborne UFOs. They also claim to see mysterious large animals, mostly and notably a wolf, 3 times the size of a normal wolf that Terry shot at, mind you. Now, Terry seen this wolf on his property, and it was messing with one of his cattle. So he goes inside and grabs a gun. Now, this is a powerful gun, and he shoots the wolf. Mind you, when you shoot a wolf ain't going to stand there. He's going to take off and run, okay? And possibly die later on, but you'll be able to find the wolf's body because of the blood trail, right? But this wolf didn't move. He shot the wolf with his gun. He had a handgun. I believe it was a .357. And he shot him and hit him. Now, Terry is a marksman. You know, he's a mark shooter. He's very good at shooting. And he shot this wolf, and the wolf didn't even move. The wolf didn't move. He stayed there attacking the cattle. So Terry goes back in the house and grabs a rifle and ran up closer to the wolf and shot the wolf at close range multiple times with this rifle to seemingly no effect. The wolf looks at him and then turns back and starts to attack the cattle again. He shoots at him a second and a third time. He sees flesh flying off the wolf. But the wolf had no effect to Terry shooting it. So then the wolf looks at Terry a second time and slowly walks away. How is that? And before Terry's eyes, the wolf vanishes, disappears. And then on the night of March 12, 1997, after the ranch has been sold off, biochemist Cole Keller, working with Bigelow, National Institute of Discovery Science, claimed to see a large humanoid creature spying on them from a tree. Spying on them from a tree as they're doing their research on the land. I don't know. I mean, there's just so much stuff happening in one location where you don't know to look left or right because wherever you look, there's something happening. It's just, man, it's just hard to swallow. I mean, as he detailed in the hunt for Skinwalker Ranch, the creature was approximately 50 yards, watching the team safely from a tree perched 20 feet off the ground. So imagine looking around, all of a sudden you see this big creature up in the tree looking at you while you're doing your research. It says the large creature that lays motionless, almost casually, in the tree, said Keller. The only indication of the beast's presence was the penetrating yellow light in his eyes. And he never blinked once, they said, as he stared, fixed back into the light. I don't know how I'd be reacting on this ranch. I mean, you shooting animals on the ranch and they don't even have an effect to you shooting them. You're finding paranormal activity to the left, so you get all your equipment, you face it to the left to capture the evidence, and all of a sudden everything's happening to the right. And then you're doing your research and you look up and there's this big beast sitting in the tree staring at you. I mean, how do you stay focused? I mean, it's one thing where, okay, I heard of a ghost or something and I heard the voice, but when you actually got something physical standing there in front of you and it's just watching you, what do? It's quite eerie and it's quite, man, I don't know. But after Keller fired at the creature with the rifle, okay, he shot at this beast in the tree, mind you, I'm saying. He shot at the beast in the tree. He said it disappeared. And when it disappeared, it was like nothing was never there. It was then that I saw it. A single, amphibious oval track about 6 inches in diameter, embedded deeply in the path of the snow. So he saw the tracks in the snow, 6 inches in diameter. He said it looked unusual. A single large print in the snow with 2 sharp claws protruding from the rear of the mark, going a couple of inches deeper. It almost looked like a bird of prey, he says. Maybe a raptor print. So you're seeing a raptor print in the snow. Imagine that, a dinosaur, a raptor, really? They're going as far as saying that they're having running raptors on this land because he sees a print and it looks like a raptor. But huge. And from the depth of the print, from a very heavy creature. So this creature was heavy because it left a big track in the snow. And he said the claws dug deep into the snow. And he thinks it's a raptor. That's a dinosaur, guys. Can you believe what he's saying? This is totally weird. I mean, if I lived next to this ranch and all this stuff was happening to my neighbor, write down in the comments, guys, what would you do? What would you do if you lived next to a neighbor and he's saying he's seen prints that look like it came from a dinosaur, a raptor, a big beast in a tree, he shot at it and it disappeared, UFOs, oversized wolf, ghost? What would you do, guys? Write down in the comments below on what you would do if you had a neighbor who was experiencing all these on his ranch. Now, it says repeated sightings of a human-like creature have led some to invoke the name Skinwalker, a shape-shifting character from the Navajo tribe folklore. Among the Navajo skinwalkers are like wolves, evil witches who can transform themselves into a creature of their choosing. So, I mean, I did a lot of study on the Navajos and the skinwalkers. Now, a skinwalker is what you call a shape shifter, otherwise known as a skinwalker, or medicine man. You know, it's a medicine man basically who has the skills and the power to shapeshift. And usually when they shapeshift into animals like a wolf, coyote, any four-legged animal. It could be a dog, any four-legged animal, basically. But the main thing they commonly are seen as is a wolf, a coyote, and a dog. Now, people say, "Oh, I seen the skinwalker. He was in a form of a dog or a coyote." Well, what they do is they actually wear the skin of the dead animal. And that's why when you look at a picture of a skinwalker, you usually see a Navajo Indian with the skin of an animal. Again, a wolf, a dog, coyote, fox. And they take the impersonation of that animal. So they say they have magical powers. They can run. There's been reportings that people are driving 60 miles an hour, and they look on this side window, and there's a man running next to the window, going 60 miles an hour, wearing dead animal skin. They're known to be able to climb trees like no other man can, like just run up a tree and can jump a high limits and whatever. It's just crazy the stuff that they can do. They can jump high in the air and they can run 60 miles an hour. They can climb a tree like no other. They can jump off a roof onto the ground and not be hurt. Seems like they can do a whole lot. I don't know if I would ever want to run to a skinwalker. But they are claimed to be evil. So they say skinwalkers are like evil witches who can transform themselves into the creature of their choosing. But Sherman's family ranch was 400 miles north of the Navajo Nation. It was next to the Ute territory. And when the Ute and the Navajo did cross the paths, it was a relationship. Okay? Explains historian Sandra, the author of Being and Becoming a Ute. So, when they met, when the Navajos and the Ute met, it was not friendly. The Navajos were more aggressive people. They took slaves. They had Ute slaves, and they were direct. And there was a direct conflict when the Navajo attempted to move up into the Ute territory at the modern day. So those are two tribes that didn't get along, but it looked like the Navajo got, they got the upper hand on the Ute tribe. So they took a lot of them as slaves, and things happened. But a small river runs through the property on Skinwalker Ranch. So while skinwalkers don't, skinwalkers don't really like water. That's what they say. But it says there are still aspects of the ranch that make sense within the context of the Ute lore. So other strange sightings have occurred directly next door at the Bottle Hollow, a 420-acre made-man reservoir on the Ute land abutting the ranch, which was filled with fresh water in 1970. By federal government mandate, in 1998, a police officer saw a large light plunge into the reservoir. So he says he saw a large light plunge into the reservoir and then reemerge again, flying off into the night sky. So what do you think that was? When you see a large light just plunge into the reservoir. Now, this is not a deep reservoir, by the way. Anyway, I'm looking at the picture here. The reservoir is not deep. But when you see a large light plunge into the water and then take off again, and this is coming from a police officer, you got to take it with a grain of salt, But one night in 2002, 4 young non-Indian men standing on the reservoir shoreline saw a blue-white ball enter the artificial lake. So what are these lights? What's going on? First person would say it's probably a UFO. But according to the hunt for the Skinwalker, the glowing ball dove into the water just a few feet from the shore and then emerged seconds later in a new form, a shimmering, maneuverable belt-shaped shaft of light. That's a heck of a way to explain it. After performing a brief riding, the belt of light zipped away at a high rate of speed, hugging the ground before disappearing below the top of the Skinwalker Ridge. Now, if you ever watch any of the Skinwalker videos, you will see that a lot of people talk about flying saucers, UFOs, flying orbs, lights just zipping through the sky at a fast speed. But they don't know what they are. They can never catch exactly what they are. What are they? If you think you know what they are, write it in the comment below. Put it in the comments below. Tell me what you think they are. But the appearance of the supernatural around Bottle Hollow makes sense with the context of the Ute belief, according to Jones. Amongst the Ute, spring and certain waterways were reservoirs of negative power. So the reservoirs are negative power because of the way they move. It generates a lot of negative power. It says they were evil spirits, or evil spirits that would rise up out of the water and drag you in. It gets deeper and deeper as you go. We understand a haunting. I understand a haunting. I'm a former paranormal investigator myself. Um, when you investigate a paranormal situation, let's say a haunted house, which I've done many of, you got to go in there with an open mind. You have to go in there and say, okay, the possibilities of this house being haunted is there. But let's look at the scientific facts first. What is going on around the house? Is there high voltage wires that's causing people to hallucinate? Is there weakenings in the pipe? Is the boards weak in the house? Is the structural sound of the house weak? So what we do is we do a baseline reading. We get everything, from heat sensors to code and fluctuations, to stuff that might be the cause of what these, citizens think the house is haunted for. But when we get past that, proving natural things in your house isn't the cause of you hearing or seeing or feeling presence in your house. Once we get past that, then that's when we go into the other mode, which is the investigation mode. And it's the same thing with the Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, these people, they get on this ranch and they work and they work and they work and they can't seem to find a way to disprove the stuff that's happening on the Skinwalker Ranch. Every time they find something to disprove, something else comes up that they have to disprove, and they can't do it. And now their peoples, their scientists, is experiencing things that they never seen. I mean, you have scientists walking off saying they can't deal with it. You have people getting sick, people getting injured, and they have to leave because they can't handle the abundance of the paranormal activity. So as far as Skinwalker Ranch on Paranormal Outreach, it's an unsolved case. It's an unsolved case. They couldn't prove or disprove, but they were leaning more towards the possibility. The possibility of an interdimensional portal that the paranormal activities is coming through. They said that there was one occurrence where a portal opened up, but it looked just like where they were on the ranch, except it wasn't night, it was day, and the skies was orange. And they can see these wolves and these small white humanoids walking through, leaving our world and going into theirs. Unfortunately, they didn't get it on camera, because every time this portal would open, it would drain their equipment. And I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot amongst my colleagues, that their equipment drained. I witnessed it. I'm saying I'm not witnessing a portal, but I witnessed it on some of my investigations where my equipment have drained. The batteries die. Brand new batteries, they die. So some of the stuff that they talk about, I definitely can relate to. I have experienced it, I have seen it. But the other stuff is like mind-blowing when you really get deep into this. And that's what we do here on Paranormal Outreach. We get deep into the cases that has not been solved. So that's what we do. And the thing that I love about paranormal investigations and research is the people. I love the people. I love the people that I help. Why? Because they're honest people. They're honest people. The people that I help, they call and they're asking and they're begging for help because they don't understand what's going on. I helped an individual and his wife, my team, and they pulled me aside and they said, "Curtis, I don't understand what's going on in my house. Why is my house feel so cold when it's 90 degrees outside and I don't have an AC? Why when I walk through my house, I hit a cold spot and all the hair on my body just straightens out?" Or he said to me, "My wife takes a shower and she can feel somebody staring at her through the glass and she thinks it's me. But when she opens the glass door, nobody's there." He goes, "Why is this happening to us?" I had a case I was looking into where it was a barn. And I don't want to give the location, but it was a barn in Massachusetts. And a young lady hit me up on Facebook and said, "Curtis, I need your help." I replied to her, "What's wrong?" And she wrote me a page, like a full page, on all the activity that's going on her property. Now, she owned, a lot of land. She had a barn. Her dad had a big house, and she lived on the property as well. In a house adjoining her father's house, adjacent to her father's house. I'm sorry. So I said, "Okay, I'm gonna look into it. I'm gonna help you." So I took me and my team up there. We met her, and we did all of our baselines and everything was fine. But one of the situations that she said was that she wasn't home at the time, but her son and his girlfriend was in the barn. And from what I believe is that they were making out. And something grabbed the girl. And the girl thought it was the boy. But when she, I guess, turned around or whatever, I'm not sure, it wasn't the boy. So she got scared and ran out of the barn. So when we got there, this was my second full-on investigation. And I'd never been touched by a ghost. I'd never been touched by anything that I couldn't see. So as my medium, who's a wonderful lady, Julie Thompson, wonderful lady, wonderful, very skilled at what she does. She knows exactly what she's doing. I don't tell her nothing. I never tell her about an investigation. I bring her in cold turkey. And she goes in and she nails it on the dot every time. But while she was doing her thing, something grabbed me by the back of my shirt and pulled me against the wall. Now, mind you, there's nothing behind me. And this thing grabbed me by the back of my shirt and pulled me to the wall. The other thing was, which I'll leave a link below, we're in the upper section of the barn, the attic of the barn. And this is where a lot of this stuff was going on. And the person who was trying to contact was a deacon. Now, this deacon, supposedly, from the research that we've done and from the interviews from the owner's daughter and stuff, the deacon was doing stuff to little boys. And he ended up passing away. But when we got up there was a chair in the middle of the attic barn. It was just a chair just sitting there. And supposedly that's where he did a lot of his stuff, was where that chair was. So we decided to do an EVP. Now, EVP is called electrical voice phenomenon. EVP. It's where you take a voice recorder and you hold it up in the air and you ask questions, hoping to get a response from the afterlife or the spirit or the entity that is causing the problems. So we go up there and we do this EVP. Now we have all our equipment and everything, and we got everything ready. We rolling. We asking questions. We getting it going. We got our recorders out. We got our video cameras out. We got our voice box out. And a voice box is an instrument that we use that scans through hundreds of radio frequencies, hoping to pick up a voice from the afterlife. That's how they communicate with us, is through the voice box. And as we're doing our EVP session, the owner's daughter says, "Are you the deacon?" And through the voice box, you can hear a reply back saying, "Deacon." That's what you call a Class A EVP. Not only did it respond back to us, but it was clear, as if it was standing next to us. The other thing was, one of my investigators says, "Who do you want to leave? Do you want us to leave? Who do you want to leave?" And the deacon responds, "Curtis." So, when you deal with something that calls you out by your name, it's life-changing. Some people call it crazy. I call it contact, really. You make contact with the afterlife. Now, we go through our proper channels and we cleanse the house and we get whatever location we was cleansed so that the owner or the person suffering from this situation hasn't have to suffer for this anymore. So, we dive deep into stuff. We don't go based off of, he said, she said. We do the research and then we bring it to you. We bring it to the people. And this is what paranormal outreach does. We outreach to the people, get the information, do the research, and we bring it back to you, the people. So, I really hope you like today's show. We're going to bring you more of this paranormal education, paranormal cases, unsolved mysteries, crimes all around the world that couldn't be solved, whether if it's human interaction or paranormal interaction. We're going to bring it to you, and we're going to bring it to you live here at Paranormal Outreach. We are a new podcast host station where you want information, we'll bring it to you. All you got to do is say, "Hey, I have this situation going on. Can you find out why this is happening to me? Can you help me? Can you guide me on what I need to do because my house is haunted, or I'm seeing UFOs. I want to share the story." Don't be afraid. Give us a call. Email us. bigstarfilms2010@gmail.com. We'll be happy to put you on. We'd love to hear your story. And if we can help you, we'll guide you to whatever we have to do to fulfill the situation so you don't have to suffer from this anymore. So, again, I'm your host, Curtis Freeman, and I thank you for joining us today here on Paranormal Outreach. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. God bless, take care, and again, thank you for joining us here on Paranormal Outreach.
You've been listening to Paranormal Outreach with your host, Curtis Freeman. If you enjoyed today's show, be sure to tell a friend. Also, make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing to our show on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Podbean, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Drop by and visit our YouTube channel and Facebook page to get more content. So stay safe and take care.